We have new CNN reporting on the federal felony indictment against New York Attorney General Letitia James. Two sources are telling us that Attorney General Pam Bondi was caught off guard by the indictment. Let's go live now to CNN senior White House correspondent Kristen Holmes. What are you learning from your sources, Kristen?
Yeah, and this comes after CNN had already reported that the Attorney General and the Deputy Attorney General had been hesitant to bring charges against James because of the information that they had heard from Eric Siebert, who was at that time the U.S. Attorney in the Eastern District of Virginia. So he's since left that post. Halligan, of course, appointed by President Trump to be that handpicked U.S. Attorney in that district. And we are told Halligan did not coordinate with the Department of Justice on this. That is why these officials, including the Attorney General herself, were caught off guard. Now, it had seemed to be relayed at some point to these top officials that Halligan would be pursuing the case, but no actual details were exchanged between Halligan or the Department of Justice main branch on when it was going to happen. So when this announcement came, when Halligan actually secured this indictment against James, it was news to the top DOJ officials. Of course, as we know, Halligan had brought the case against former FBI Director James Comey. We also know that she had really been tasked with bringing these cases against his political rivals. So the fact that she didn't coordinate is very stunning. This is usually something with a case this big, particularly when there's a close affiliation with the White House and what we've heard from President Trump. The fact that they didn't coordinate is really something, Pamela.
Yeah, and I wonder if there's any indication from the sources you talked to if it had anything to do with that Truth Social post where President Trump called on Pam Bondi to prosecute Letitia James, Adam Schiff, and James Comey.
Yeah, and obviously, as we've been reporting today, that was intended to be a private message to the Attorney General. But I do also want to remind you of something that my colleague Evan Perez and I reported after James Comey had been indicted, which was that Lindsey Halligan and the team there on the ground did not have support or help from the Department of Justice for that case either, that Halligan had been briefed. She had never even presented in front of a grand jury before. And instead, she was briefed and prepared by agents and officials, attorneys at the FBI, not the Department of Justice, before she actually went before the grand jury. This time, I am told that she was not prepared. She didn't work in terms of by the FBI. She didn't work with the FBI or the Department of Justice before presenting that case and then securing that indictment.
Wow, quite the reporting there. Kristen Holmes, live for us from the White House. Thanks so much.
Evan Perez, I want to start with you. So many questions.
So many questions.
So many questions. Let's just start on the James indictment, because it is interesting that the U.S. attorney that the president put in place, who happens to be one of his former defense attorneys, was once again, just like with the Comey indictment, the only prosecutor on the case. So what are you hearing from your sources? Is that because she wanted to be the only one on there, or is it because others didn't want to take part?
So at this point, she has decided she is going to do this alone. She's not going to wait and try to ask people in the office. So no one in the office was actually told to come on the case and refused. The same thing in the Comey case. She was aware, fully aware of the opposition within the office to this case, as well as to the case against James Comey. But she decided, obviously, she arrived 2 weeks ago knowing full well what the president wanted. And she decided that she was going to bring these cases and let the grand jury decide what it would. And, you know, we have to say, look, I mean, this is only her second time going before the grand jury, and she's managed to both times get indictments that she was looking for. In the Comey case, she got 2 out of the 3 charges. But what it shows you is, you know, the president's former personal attorney knows her remit, and she is going forward with cases that she knows are very important to him, which has been a hesitation inside the department, right? We've seen this in Trump season 1 and Trump season 2 now. He has
hesitation in the department because this is shattering the norms.
It's shattering the norms. We've never seen a president openly tell the department what he wanted to do against his political enemies. There's always been that sort of unspoken thing where the Justice Department is supposed to act independently, partly because what you want is the public to have confidence that these cases are being brought not for political reasons, but because of the merit and the facts and the law.
Now, the man who the president initially wanted for this job, for the U.S. Attorney's role,
A Trump supporter.
a Trump supporter. Well, yes, I was actually going to bring up somebody different. Ed Martin.
Oh.
He tweeted out, who's a huge loyalist to the president. He's now in the Justice Department doing January 6th cleanup. He put on Truth Social the following: promises made, promises kept. So if we didn't have that very lengthy post from the president himself, this is just, tells us what's happening. This underscores that. And that's just 2 days after he showed a photo of himself with Lindsey Halligan, who is that attorney that we were talking about.
Right. And he also tweeted another one of an eagle flying over Brooklyn or New York, a very clear indication of what he knew was about to happen, right? And look, I mean, I think Ed Martin and Lindsey Halligan are showing how this new Justice Department works. They have direct relationships with the president. They can pick up the phone and talk to the president anytime they want. In previous Justice Departments, including in the first Trump administration, there was a separation that only the Attorney General, Deputy Attorney General, very limited ways that they could communicate with the White House. That norm has been shattered, and everyone is basically like, we don't care what your norms are. This is how it's done now, and we don't really care what people's perception of it is. They're going to go forward. I should say, though, this case against Letitia James, this is a paperwork case. These cases are traditionally, pretty simple for prosecutors to bring and to be able to get a jury to buy into. So she does have a problem here because it is the paperwork. Right, she does.
I mean, to your point about the difference between season 1 and season 2, it is one of the biggest frustrations of President Trump from his first term in office was Jeff Sessions and how he did not take control of the Justice Department. When you talk to the president's top advisors, that is the thing
Even
that
under
he
Bill
wanted
Barr,
to change.
too.
For sure,
Yeah.
for sure. During the whole first term, and Bill Barr was loyal, but just not loyal enough. But this is an entirely different ballgame. So that is what the president is. That's what he wanted. That's what he's getting. And it also is obviously sending a message to a handful of others that those indictments are likely to come next. We can almost list through people who you'll be covering coming up.
Yes, exactly.
And David, our colleague Elena Train matched some reporting from friend of the show, Josh Dawsey, over at the Wall Street Journal, which, just going back to that lengthy Truth Social post that the president put out there on September 20th, several weeks ago, that it will live in infamy, where he said, Pam, I have reviewed 30 statements, and that this is the one in which he talks specifically about Comey, about Adam Schiff, about Letitia James. And so what Elena is now reporting as well is that that wasn't meant to be public. That was supposed to be a direct message. A lot to unpack with that as well. First of all, this is how the president communicates privately with his attorney general. Not just the method, but obviously the substance, particularly since most of this are things that he has said publicly.
Well, that I think is key, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yes, this clearly was intended, according to our reporting and others, as a direct message. But in no way is it different from what he was saying publicly for everyone to be able to hear him and understand what his directive was. Although the fact that it was intended as a direct message, I would imagine, Evan, correct me if I'm wrong for the lawyers you talk to, but that'll come into a selective prosecution case as a data point that I would imagine defense attorneys would bring.
Oh, absolutely. These are exhibits that are going to be used in a motion to dismiss this and in the Comey case as well, because, I mean, it does show that the president is putting his weight behind this.
Yeah, I mean, it shows him directly pressing her to do something very specific. We talk about the other folks who likely get indicted. Adam Schiff is on that list. You'll probably be covering
John Bolton is coming, right?
Yeah, in the next weeks or so.
You mentioned some names. Let's just
Yeah, these are other folks. And listen, this is something that Donald Trump campaigned on. He talked very openly about him being the people's retribution, and his second term has ended up being one that's essentially a revenge tour where he is breaking these norms, where the Justice Department are essentially operating as his own lawyers and going after people that he wants to go after.
David, One of the many reasons I love having you on the show is I get to pull the curtain back for our viewers, and they can hear some of the very smart things you tell us all behind the scenes, and connecting all the dots and putting this in perspective. So,
well, I mean, to me, I think this is just a fear for the country, because Donald Trump is not always going to be president, right? And somebody else will be president. My big concern is if you rip the blindfold off of justice the way it is intended to be, and we get into a cycle of partisan political retribution through the justice system in this country as administrations change, I don't know how the American people are going to have any faith in a truly blind justice system. And to me, I'm not saying we're the potential slippery slope. I think we are on that slippery slope.
Yeah.